engineers are a bit frustrated because they want to just code and know what the specs are, code something interesting, and the lack of governance to them is an hindrance. And then just the idea, okay, how much of governance is actually dictatorship, just telling people what to do, and how much is, specs writing or defining what the goals are so that the engineers can do their work. So I think there's a difference between the menial work, the task management aspect of governance, which could be even seen like as a secretary function, and the governance as the Leviathan, Thomas Hobbes, etc.
I mean, I guess it does there is a kind of difference where, I mean, if you look at the Ethereum community right now, there was like a whole issue about recovering lost funds, in one of the wallets, I think in the Polkadot, wallet. And basically one of the maintainers was saying that, a certain EIP was not, suitable because it didn't fall under kind of an engineering, mandate. And basically people were criticizing him and saying that, the EIP should be published, etc., because people had lost a lot of money. And eventually he ended up resigning because he thought that it expanded the scope of his role more than what he thought when he had agreed to be in that role. And so, I mean, I think that's like an interesting, example of, a role where initially it is very much kind of secretarial and you're kind of just making sure that EIPs follow, a certain process. And then eventually it bumps into kind of political and social questions about, whether you recover used funds, even though, that could potentially be used maliciously and all this. So it's kind of, there is a distinction, but it's sometimes, those two worlds kind of collide.
Definitely. There's also the idea that if you start with something that's purely menial tasks, like let's say, okay, let's keep a track of all the stakeholders so that we can keep them updated with what everybody is doing.
Yeah.
That in itself is already quite controversial because, okay, who are the stakeholders? Who defines who the stakeholders are?
Exactly.
Who decides who gets the name added to the list? What if my name is off the list? And then you get into issues of censorship and measuring how much people contribute. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
What's the
metric?
What's the metric? What's the threshold? Okay, who even defines what the metric is, etc., etc. Whereas other people believe like, well, it's all decentralized, so all we need is anybody. It's a free market of ideas. It's a free market of you do a BIP, you do a Bitcoin proposal. You do some proposal. You put it out there. The miners will vote. That's how everything is done.
Yeah.
But just doing it like this is interesting, but it's maybe not the most efficient. So we do see those dynamic at play in Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Core, Ethereum. It is interesting.
Yeah. So I have like a kind of semi-structured interview outline, set out. We can kind of deviate from the questions, and also importantly, if you feel as if you've answered, any of the questions, if you feel as if my questions are repeating themselves, or your answers would be repeating themselves, just refer back to a previous answer so that we don't need to go over it again. Okay? So the interview has tended to last about an hour, but if you feel that if you're in a rush or something, just let me know and I can prioritize.
So I have about 50 minutes.
Okay, well, I'll try and keep that in mind, when picking the questions. Okay, so I'll ask you a bit about yourself, right now. So can you please state your name and your role in the Bitcoin ecosystem?
So my name is Gerald. I recently, like 4 months ago, started working at Bitcoin.com in a role as a business development manager. It's a very, the umbrella term for doing a lot of things, but I'd say that the main aspect is doing triage because Roger, the CEO, and or COO are both so busy. The company is growing very fast, so there's lots of inbound, emails and connections. Everybody wants their time, and I'm there kind of sieving through everything and then seeing what is worth pursuing or not.
Okay. Are you involved in any of the kind of, let's call them policy decisions about how Bitcoin.com is run?
I would say a little bit, but it's, I'm still quite new, so I'm not, directly involved. I'm just been assigned, I guess I get my input, but I'm not the decision maker.
Okay. Is there any specific project that you work on in Bitcoin.com apart from this kind of triage? So, like, for example, are you associated with the wallet more strongly or with the mining pool?
All of the above. I've been
Okay.
I've been introducing Japanese potential partners for the mining pool. I've been talking with merchants to develop applications that would link with our wallet. I've been trying to get some more exchanges to use our Explorer. So there's
Okay, so it's a kind of fairly wide role.
Yeah.
Okay, so when and why did you first get involved in Bitcoin?
2011, my brother sent me an email. He was active in the online poker community, trying to code online poker tools. And with that, he was involved in a bunch of forums. People were talking about Bitcoin in those forums. We started talking about it. Didn't act upon it until quite a bit later, maybe it's in late 13. What else? Early enough to have been doxxed, early enough to participate in the Ethereum ICO, and then also I made a mistake there where my brother and I, we co-invest there, and we were helping a friend invest in Ethereum. And by selling his Ethereum when he thought it'd gone up a lot, like from $1 to $20, we sold a bunch of ours too early. So roughly first as investors, just purely interested. I was working at Adobe before, and then little by little it feels like there's something happening. I like the idea that there are people in the world who see what happens, who make stuff happen, or who wonder what happened. And I was thinking I'd like to be part of the group making stuff happen if there's really something happening.
Why? Okay, so your involvement clearly has changed over time. At what point did you decide to work full-time in Bitcoin, and why?
So I've been based in Tokyo for 20 years. It's a mix of thing. I'm also into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Roger Ver is a brown belt of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've been in Bitcoin. We always, with my brother, like, it'd be cool to meet him at some point, he's a really influential guy in the community. And that happened organically, it's like mid last year, when a friend of mine started working at Bitcoin.com, and then we organized a dinner with Roger, and then, we had a good contact. And he was mentioning that maybe it would be up to hiring non-engineer positions as he was growing the company. And then he brought me in.
Okay, I see. And what do you identify as? I mean, because obviously the Bitcoin community has a lot of people who self-identify as libertarian or cypherpunk, etc. Do you feel as if you fall under a certain bracket?
Yeah, I forgot the name, but that 4-axis study where you have the left, right, and what are the two other statist, or did you know which one I'm talking about?
I don't know the study, but I mean, my background is in political science, so all of these kind of categories are very familiar to me. Yeah,
so I mean, rather than the regular left right plus this other dimension, which I think is state or individual, and I'm kind of right of center and very individualistic versus statist. So that's what like one test shows. Personally, I more and more like the voluntarist ideas, and I'm drawn to this field because I believe that what we're discussing right now, the mechanism to organize developments like this or to organize trust around blockchain might have lots of value in organizing humans in better ways for more things than just blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Okay.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you some questions about the kind of attributes of Bitcoin. So for you, what is the purpose of Bitcoin?
Okay, I think there's so many there, and recently I've been geeking out on this idea. So you did political science.
Yeah.
Social contract.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And that somehow it's the first voluntary opt-in social contract. You and I, we never signed a real social contract, but de facto, by choosing to use a worldwide decentralized blockchain, it is something that's eminently social. It's something that allows us to come in contact and trade with anybody worldwide. And I've been conceptualizing it in my head as maybe the first opt-in social contract. So that will be one of it out there.